I'm just going to quickly start with the news on Robbie Rouse. Unfortunate and really a serious event that we take really serious. Robbie informed me of what happened, and shortly after picking up all the facts, I asked and accepted Robbie's resignation to the program. And it's really my statement. I'm not going to get into too many details on his situation. My focus is on the team and would love to talk about today.
Coach, it seemed like the running backs had a couple of big runs in there. Some, obviously Max broke one off. Kirby had a couple tough ones. When they get the opportunity to actually go full speed and full contact, does it seem like there's just a little bit extra juice when they can do that? Yeah,
I think so, and I think it's good for them. The contact balance and not always worrying about staying on your feet and understanding that you may have to go to the ground. Everybody is forced to play at a different speed, and I think it's great for the defense. Obviously, we got to make sure that we manage the health of the bodies as we work through the spring, and so that's why I'm just a big believer in making these guys be put in these situations but not do it so much to where you can risk injury.
Noticed, I think it was Dravinsky, Andre, Dejon Doss, Carson Osmus, and Kamani Jackson not here. Any update on those guys?
Not really at the moment. Some of those guys, they want a bigger role, and in conversation with them, and kind of seeing where they fit. I do believe some of those guys will going to end up in the portal. Some of those guys are hurt, but other than that, no update.
Bryson Lamb, I think, got a sack today. With him and the rest of the D line, how do you see that group kind of stacking up right now?
Yeah, it's doing well. They're coming together. We need to get better up front on both sides of the ball and continue to develop depth, and that's always been a focus for us and the programs that have been a part of. So a focus there. We got to become physical. We got to win the line of scrimmage. That's how games are won.
Is Zevi kind of where you hope he might be at this point in the spring? What's his progress?
Yeah, I think Zevi's a competitor and he's a great leader, but we need to continue to develop his skill set and decision-making at time, and I think he's showed that he can play competitive football and be a great leader. We just got to manage his decision-making and understand that he doesn't need to make every play, but with the ball in his hand, he makes every decision. And so he's growing as a player, and the guys are growing around him.
We've seen a bunch of folks already get in the stands, a lot of kids getting ready for the clinic here. I mean, what's it mean to see this kind of support all the way out in Spokane versus just a lot that you see in Pullman?
Yeah, I think it's important to embrace the community. I wish we could do this more often, and kind of Coug Nation is kind of everywhere in this whole state, and so to come down here to Spokane and give back to the community and show our appreciation to the support, we'd love to see it back in Pullman come this season. But it's special for our players to be able to come out here and embrace the youth.
Coach, are you happy with where this team is right now with your implementation of this new system? Yeah,
I don't really think about being happy too much. I just think about where we need to get to and the focus of getting better daily. Today was an average day as far as there was ups and downs. I would say lack of consistency a little bit in tackling, executing, and then on offense I would say the same thing. There's a little bit of lack of execution in getting yourself behind the sticks to end up on third and long situations. So there's plenty of things that we need to improve at.
There was a lot of physicality, obviously, today, and there was also maybe a minor injury to a tight end there near the end of the scrimmage. How do you balance, that physicality and that effort that's so important to what you guys do versus kind of injury prevention in scrimmage?
Yeah, that's the hard line, right? You got to get the guys to understand what it is to compete and put them in that situation, and that's just a part of the game. I just believe that you got to practice it, and so as much as you try to minimize injury, you still got to get out here and you got to strike people and you got to play the game.
Coach, how do you measure progress in some of these spring practices? Is it just seeing like an individual do something good, or is it the team? How do you measure that?
Yeah, I think right now it is all individual based because it's so early in the spring ball. You want to see somebody's skill set and their knowledge of what we're trying to do schematically continue to grow and not make the same mistakes. Overall, there's some real flashes inside of position groups, and that's important. A level of consistency and watching guys grow and learn how to work alongside the guy next to him. That is so important. I mean, it's 11 people on the field, so getting the guys uncomfortable, because they will be uncomfortable, is important. But yeah, staying healthy will be our primary focus moving forward.
Jimmy talked about the backup quarterbacks. Who is in the running to be number 2 to set?
Jackson Potter is doing a really good job. He's fairly consistent. He just needs to continue to work on his overall game, and there's flashes of the other guys, Riley Garcia and Hunter, and everybody kind of has had their day. I would say Zevi's been maybe the most consistent, and the team is kind of centered around him. But Potter, when he's gotten in there, I feel like he's done a decent job of making the most of his reps.
Coach, in conversation with the players, the unity and camaraderie on the team is awesome. How were you able to do that when you had two very different groups, the South Dakota State guys coming in with the Washington State guys who were already here?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the players that were here and being so accepting, not just to the players, but to the coaches. And then that's kind of who we are as coaches. Everybody always asks, how do you develop culture? And I think culture comes from within the building and the energy that's put inside of that building from the coaches and the spirit that's there. And we're here to try to influence these guys in a positive way. And if they can feel that on a day-to-day, it naturally rubs off to everybody around them. Our players that came with us from South Dakota State, they knew that the challenge that they would be challenged here, that was exciting for them, and they embraced, they were welcomed by this group. And so we brought a great group of players with us, and we're excited to watch the whole team compete, because just because we brought them doesn't mean that they play. The best players will play.
Max Woods with a long touchdown run. How much of what you've seen out of him now had you seen out of him at SDSU, or I guess how much of that is new as he's been here?
I know what I'm getting out of Maxwell. He's a great competitor. He did that in high school. He's done that every step of the way. Getting him bigger and stronger will be an emphasis in this offseason, just to be able to take the hits in which he's probably going to take. But Maxwell has a skill set that's special, and I'm happy to see him having success the way he was where we were last at.